Hello and welcome to JC Bass Fishing Channel. Uh, Today we're going to talk about the American Bass Anglers Bass Pro Shops Open Series 2-day tournament at Lake Eufaula, Alabama. Um, that was this past weekend. Uh, we had it was cool mornings. We had some cool mornings. As the day went up, it got warmer. We got clear skies with some clouds, but it was not really cloudy. Almost 4 mile an hour winds. Probably some areas had no wind at all, and we had a little bit of current uh, upriver. We had a little current. In around Milwaukee area, we didn't have no current. So it was pretty tough. So you had to really look for different ways to make the fish bite. Day one was I'm gonna go over both days, and I'm gonna show you three of the five lures that I use because these were the three that really helped me catch the fish and finish sixth on the tournament. But I was also I finished first on points as the co-angler of the year. So that right there helped me to get to the Race Scott Championship next April and at the Red River in Louisiana. So how did it go? Okay, let's go. Let's start with day one. Day one, it was very cold in the morning. It was cold. It was probably 57 degrees, something like that. Um, we had we we were looking for some current, and we were not able to find a lot of current because we didn't have a lot of wind anyways. So we were having a hard time finding some current. However, we started in the back of creeks. We were chasing the shad, looking for shad to see if we can find any areas where the shad were at. So that way, if there's shad around, most likely there's some bass around. So we went in the back of the creeks and we started fishing with top water. So I was using a walking bait, which is one of the lures that I'm not showing you. I'm not gonna show you today because I didn't catch anything with it. But I started using a walking bait. Um, and I cast it about 15 times. I didn't get no bites. So I switched from a walking bait to a worm, thinking, well, maybe they don't want to come up. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the shaky head, see if they're at the bottom, and I can get some bites. So using the shaky head, I was getting bites, but they were short. Most of the fish that I caught early in the morning were short fish, and I was using just a regular shaky head, so there's no need for me to be specific about what hook to use and what worm, but I'll show you. Uh, I was using shaky head with a green pumpkin, uh, purple swirl, striking 6-inch trick worm. Simple. So any um, any green pumpkin worm or um, black and blue, if the water is a little stained, um, it will hurt. It will help. It will generate bites. The only problem is that you are gonna catch a lot of short fish. So that's what happened to me. I was casting this shaky head to every lay down that I saw, every corner that I can find, every stump, rock, whatever I could find that I could see. Uh, I was throwing it. Also, if we were chasing fish close to grass lines. I was flipping the shaky head right in front of the grass line, looking for fish that will come out of the grass and just, you know, take a bite of it. So I did catch some fish, but most of them were short fish. That was early in the morning. Now, as the sun started to come out, the fish became little bit more active, and we started getting more bites. So we started moving. What we did is we started moving towards the middle of the creek, and that's where we start seeing a lot of shad movement that were flickering in top of the water. Every once in a while, we'll see a bass that'll come up and smash him real hard. Uh, every every once in a while, we see some bass chasing. We can see the shad jumping out of the water. So we realized that the fish were not yet all the way in the back of the creeks. Now, that's not to say that there was no fish in the back of the creeks. Yeah, there's probably was some, but in day one of the tournament, my boater and I, we didn't find anything in the back of the creeks. So we moved to the middle of the creek and we started seeing some more action. Then when we got to the middle of the creeks, I started using my spinnerbait. And this is nothing flashy. It's just a regular 3/8 ounce spinnerbait, white and chartreuse. I know the colors don't look real clear with this, but it's white and chartreuse with gold blade, willow blade, and a silver Colorado blade. That's it. Nothing fancy. This is what I was using. And when we started using that uh, in the middle of the creeks, I started casting this on top of laydowns, around laydowns, on top of stumps, um, in any corner that I can get this spinnerbait to, I will cast it. And that's where my first fish came up. And I caught my first fish. It was probably about a 2 pounder, two and a half pounder, and it came up in the spinnerbait. So that right there gave me a green light of what to use. But then after that, it died again. I kept on casting, it died again. So I switched again from the spinnerbait. I went back again to the mighty fine shaky head, and I started flipping the shaky head in every corner I can get it to. Um, Working on trying to find ways to get the fish to bite, or at least try to get something. I was just looking for a way to catch a fish because on the ABA, if you don't know, in the ABA, the co-angler side, you got to catch only 3 fish. So I'm looking for those 3 fish. I already got one. I'm still looking. So we left that area because we couldn't get no bites. And we decided uh, to go all the way to the beginning of the creeks. So now we are at the primary points of the creeks. So we're looking for primary points that have the creek channel closer to them. So most likely when you're going into a creek, you have 2 sides. And the creek channel usually it's not really all the time in the middle. Usually it's closer to one of the 2 sides. So what we did is the side that was the creek channel was closer to, that's the one that we decided to fish, thinking that the fish probably still in the deep water, and what they're doing is probably moving up the point, trying to feed on some of the shad that was still on those points, and then coming back down to deeper water. So we stayed there and we started casting a 6XD. And nothing fancy. Again, this is just a 6XD white and light blue and dark blue on the top. This is the citrus color. It's got um, a little orange in the tip, as you can see. And when we started using this, immediately we started catching fish. I mean, I'm talking about my boater caught probably and on points, not on that specific one, but on primary points. He probably caught about 12 fish with a crankbait, and I caught about six um, or five or six. That's where I was able to catch my second fish, which was close to 3 pounds. Now, most of the fish that I was catching were shorter. For some reason, my boater was able to catch good fish, but most of the ones that I was catching were smaller. And I was having a hard time getting my three fish in the boat. However, as the sun continued to come up and it got warmer, those primary points became really, really hot. Fish were biting, shad was flickering all over the place, and every once in a while we get a little wind, and every time that little wind came up, you could see some bass just come up and smash the shad, and we'll cast on top water trying to get them, but they will not hit the top water for some reason. Now we'll get the crankbait and crank it on those primary points, and they will bite. So I was able to catch my second and my third fish from primary points. So at almost, we'll say almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we decided to start heading back to Kawaki Creek because we had to be back by 2:30. And on our way back, we stopped. We made a quick stop in a creek that was it was a very short creek. I mean, it looked more like a little cove. And in that cove, in that creek, we had we had a flat. In the middle of that flat, there was a tree or a stump. I could see the top of it, but it was right in the middle. We were like in probably 4 feet of water. And I was casting my spinnerbait all over the place. Just casting the same spinnerbait all over the place. And when we passed, my boater was throwing a top water. He was throwing casting a top water all over the place. So he threw that top water about 5 times on top of that stump, and he didn't get no bites. So he kept on going until the stump was behind the boat. And when the stump was behind the boat, uh, I said, you know what? He was throwing top water, so I'm gonna throw this spinnerbait on that stump to see if there's anything on the bottom. And I casted the spinnerbait. I let the spinnerbait go down to the bottom. I jerked the the rod a couple times to get it off the bottom, and I started reeling. And as soon as I reel like 3 times, I get hit. But I mean, I got hit hard. Like when you get stuck on the stump and you think it's a fish and you set the hook and then later on it doesn't move. Well, that's how I felt it. But then all of a sudden, I felt some head shakes. I was like, oh, this is a fish. So I started reeling back in, and my boat was moving forward, and I'm trying to reel it. I was like, hey, listen, I got fish, fish on, fish on. And he's like, where you got it? I say, on the stump. And he's like, no way. I was like, yeah, I got it on the stump. And he's like, oh, it does feel big? I was like, yeah, it feels big. I can't bring him over. So the fish was fighting really hard. It was fighting really hard. It was a reaction bite. I'm not gonna deny that it was a reaction bite because I tell you, the minute I moved that spinnerbait over that stump, he just slammed it, and we got it on the boat, and it was like 3 pounds 6 ounces or something like that, and it gave me a fight. It was a pretty good fish, and the thing about it is that this spinnerbait, if you can see the wire, this is light wire, and it bent really easy, and the spinnerbait was destroyed. I mean, it was all bent. I had to re-put it on place because that bass just smashed it and messed it up. But I was able to get it on the boat, and I was able to call my smaller fish. So I'm thinking, okay, so let's go look for laydowns. Let's go look for some stumps, and maybe we can, upgrade what we have. But we didn't have a lot of time left, so we went back to Kewaukeee Creek and we tried to fish around some ledges over there, and we tried to fish around some of the cypress trees over there, but we didn't get no bites, so it was time to come back in. So we decided to go back in, and at that time we were done. So day one, I weighted all three of my fish, um, weighted like 7 pounds and 6 ounces or something like that. 7 pounds, 8 ounces, something like that. And that put me on third place on the co-angler side for the first day. So that tells you right there, it was not a it was not a very good, fishing day for a lot of us. Yes, I was lucky. I caught that big fish, but if it wasn't because of that big fish, I probably would have had uh, 4 or 5 pounds probably, because I had two fish that were 2.5 pounds, but brought one 2 pounder, one 2.5, and the little one 12 incher, which was the first fish that I caught. So let's say it was about 5 pounds, maybe 5.5. So on the boat, well, on the co-angler side, the co-angler that was leading had over 10 pounds. So he had a good day with three fish. But a lot of people didn't have a day like him. So that was the end of day one. I went back to, you know, to my to my truck camper. I retie a bunch of, my stuff. I changed my top lure from a walking bait to a frog. Um, I kept my spinner bait, I kept my 6XD, and I kept my shaky head because I knew I was able to get some bites on those. And I changed my top water from walking bait to a frog. Um, and then I had a jig. And that's it. That's everything I took. So day two comes up. I get in contact with my boater. We talk about what we're going to do and all that, and we got everything settled. We go out there. We were both six, I believe, and we take off. Um, so we go. It was a little cold. It was not as cold as day one, but it was a little cold. So I had to wear a little jacket because once you take off, you're gonna feel, especially if you're a co-angler and you're on that side that has no console on it, you're getting all that wind hitting you in the face. It gets cold. But we took off and we went fishing. So immediately we went straight to the back of the coves of the creeks, and that right there, from day one, I already knew that there was no really a lot of action on the back. Yeah, most likely there's one or two fish out there, but you'll find one, a fish, but you will not find a lot of fish. Most of the fish were between the middle of the creeks and the primary points, the entrance of the creeks. But, as you know, I can't share no information. I can't say anything, so I'm playing it and I'm doing everything I can uh, to catch what I can when we were in the back. However, my boater had a different plan on how he was going to look for fish. And I kind of like, wait, in a way, I did like what he was trying to do. We went out looking for duckweed. He was looking for duckweed in the back of the creeks. Anywhere there was duckweed. So most likely he will he will get the boat very close to the grass lines so he could get to the duckweed that was behind uh, some of the grass. You know, there were some areas that you had some lily pads in the front, and then you had some grass, and then behind that grass you had some duckweed, and that's where he was trying to go. And he he was on fish. I have to give it to him because he was on fish. He missed a lot of good bites, and it was sad to see that because there were good bites. They were good fish. Um, but it was so difficult for him to get, get that frog all the way back there in such a small area. And then you had all these branches and these trees and everything on the way, so it was very hard. But every time he was able to do it, he will get a bite. And I was like, okay, all right. I wasn't expecting that, but that's good. But the problem was that I couldn't use my frog because I was in the back of the boat and all I have is the grass line to fish. So I decided to use my spinnerbait and just run the spinnerbait parallel with the grass line. Hopefully a fish will come out of the grass line and take a look at it and bite it. So we did that for a while. We did that for a while. He missed four fish. And I tell you straight up, if he would have caught those four fish, he probably would have finished in the top five easily because there were bites. I mean, big bites. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, one of the fish took his frog, and we saw it. We saw the splash, we saw the tail, we saw everything when he hooked it. But the grass was so high that when he tried to get the rod and pull over that grass, maybe he had a nit or he had something damaged with the with the line because he was using 65-pound braid. But he told me he did the same thing the day before and he was doing the same thing. He was going over, over branches and stuff like that. So maybe the line had a nit or it was messed up somewhere. And when he put that pressure on that fish to try to get it over that tall grass, it snapped and he lost that fish. But I saw that fish. It was a big fish. It had to be a 6 pounder easy. So after that, he's like, let's go, let's get out of here, let's go somewhere else and do something else because I know I'm getting specific here. I'm only cast looking for one fish, and even though I had four bites and I was not able to hook them, um, the the majority of the fish are not here. So let's go somewhere else. So we decided to go, and we spent some time in other creeks looking around. And he was not really happy with what he was doing, so he wanted to go back to his confidence. So his confidence was that frog on the duckweed, and I got it. It's fine with me. So he went back to that, started looking again in back of creeks, and he found another place. And in this place, uh, it was not wide enough, so you could get maybe two boats side by side in there. That's you know, how small it was. But then be right in front of him, there was a really nice flat with duckweed, and he wanted to fish that. So he put the power poles out, and I sat in the back, and I have the two sides of the creek of the little cove coming in. So I decided to cast right parallel with the shallow water, bringing it towards the boat. And there was a little stump that I hit with my shaky head. I kept on using the same shaky head. There was a little stump that I hit with my shaky head, and when I hit that stump, I felt a little bite. But I wasn't sure if it was a bass or if it was, brim or crappie, because you know how brim and crappie look. They just like to bite, 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 and they don't take. So I thought it was a brim, so I picked it up and I didn't cast there no more. So I went back to the other side, started fishing the other side, and I didn't feel anything underwater on the way back. So then I cast it right in the middle, try to come back, nothing in the middle. So I was like, okay, so the only area that has a little stump is over here in this side. So I went back to it, and when I got to the stump, I left it there, and I just didn't move it. I just left the shaky head there, and I didn't move it at all. And I did that for about close to a minute. I just left it there. And all of a sudden I decided to pick it up. And when I picked it up and tightened up the line, I saw that the line was not in the stump anymore. The line was in the middle of the creek. So I knew I had a fish because I know for sure that line didn't move by itself. And we didn't have a current to push the shaky head away from the shallow water from the stump. So I went ahead, tightened up the line, set the hook, boom, got a fish. Luckily, he didn't take it in all the way. I don't know what it was. I got lucky because I don't know how long that fish had that shaky head on his mouth, but he didn't take it to the gut. So I was lucky about that. So I grabbed it, I measured it. He measured 13 inches. I was like, okay, good. I got a spotted bass. I'm good to go. I went ahead, put it in the live well, and my boater could not catch a fish. He's still trying to find a way to, and all of a sudden, he started talking to me, and all of a sudden, he gets this splash. I mean, a big splash. Boom. And he hooks him up. And he's bringing the fish. He got a good fish. It was like 2.5, maybe 3 pounder. It was a good fish. So he brought it back in. We put it in the live well, and he's like, well, if I would have caught those 4 fish that I missed earlier, I probably have 5 already, and I had a good chance. But all I got is 1 fish in live well, so let's go and try something else because this is not working. I told him, I said, listen, man, you just got to bite, so you're gonna be able to find some fish. It's just not gonna be as many as you think. And then I gave him, an idea. I said, listen, maybe they're not back here. Maybe they are, closer to the entrance of the creeks. So I've been, casting my shaky head all over the place, and I can't get a bite. I don't see any shad moving around here. So maybe we need to move back out. And he actually, he listened and he's like, okay, let's do that. Let's move back out. And we move back to the primary points. And I was like, okay, this is starting to look good now. So we might get lucky here. So I got my crankbait out and I started casting the crankbait. And I started casting the crankbait. And all of a sudden I get hit. Boom. It was a small fish though. I was like, okay, but I got a bite. So he saw that and he's like, okay, I see what you're doing. So he grabbed his crankbait too. And he started casting his crankbait in the front. I started casting my crankbait in the back. And we just went at it and went at it. And all of a sudden, uh, he cast. There was a tree, and that tree had a little branch on over the water. So that branch was creating some shade. And he said, I'm going to cast on that shade over there. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea because if there's a fish, he's probably going to be in the shade. So he cast it over there in the shade, and I believe he didn't crank that crankbait twice, and he got hit big time. All of a sudden, here we are trying to get a 4 pounder on the boat. And I'm like, okay, so we are doing the right thing now. We are back in the primary points and we got a big bite. So that means fish might probably be out here. So we fished the rest of the day. We fish primary points all over the place. And we could not buy a bite. It was incredibly incredible. We tried and tried and tried, and we could not get a bite. And it was crazy. It was crazy. I could not believe that there was no fish on those primary points. And we caught some, but we didn't catch any big fish. We caught only short fish. If it was a spotted bass, it was less than 12 inches, and if it was a largemouth, it was less than 14 inches. So, and we needed, largemouth 14 and spotted bass over 12, and we couldn't get it. We had no luck with that. So, that right there, at least I got my fish, which I was worried about that. All I wanted to catch was one fish, so that way I could be in the numbers. Um, but in his case, he needed all five, and it was not working. So we decided to start working our way back to Kewauke Creek. And on our way back to Kewauke Creek, we stopped like 3 times to see if we can get bites. And in one of those three, we got 2 bites, but both of them were short again. He got a bite with a um, largemouth, and it was 13 inch and 3/4, and I got a bite with a spotted bass, and it was 11 inch. So we couldn't get the right measurement or keepers. We couldn't get any keepers. So after that, we went back into Kewauke Creek. We still had about 30 minutes, and we stopped close to the area uh, before going in. And we started fishing those ledges over there, but I knew those ledges in there were getting beat up already, especially if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They already got beat up bad times. If you catch something over there, you just got lucky. And we were trying to catch something. We didn't get lucky. We didn't catch anything, so we had no choice. We had to go back in. So second day, I only caught one fish. However, uh, on the total numbers, because it was hard for everybody, it was not like we were the only ones struggling. Everybody was having a hard time trying to get bites. So that there, my total weight put me in sixth place. So because of sixth place, I was dropped off the top five to make the the Race Scott Championship. And however, because of the points that I was able to get, because I didn't roll a zero, I caught my fish, and the day before I caught my 3 fish, and I finished third on the day before, and then I finished sixth as a whole for the tournament. That right there gave me enough points to finish in first place for the Angler of the Year and got me a ticket to the Ray Scott National Championship in Louisiana, Red River. So I'm looking forward for that. Next year is the first time in 6 years that I've been fishing is the ABAs and the BFLs. It's the first time I get the opportunity to qualify for a big tournament like that one. In the BFLs, that is the All American is the one that we all try to make. And then in the ABA is the Ray Scott, and I was able to make the Ray Scott, so I'm very blessed and grateful that that happened. So I get to live that experience next year. But anyways, to close the video today, just gonna show you real quick my 3 lures for Lake Eufaula. Now early fall. Spinnerbait 3/8, gold willow, chartreuse white. I didn't use a trail hook at all. Shaky head, and this one is a 316 shaky head. with a green pumpkin, purple swirl, and anything that is green pumpkin you can use, or black and blue if the water is dirty. And a 6XD citrus color is the one that I use. And my line was a 12-pound fluorocarbon vicious fishing line, and it worked perfect. I didn't have no problems. I didn't have no breaks. Line lasted, and every time I checked the line and I had a knit or anything, I retie to make sure that I didn't break off. So if I did get lucky and catch a good fish. But those were the three lures that were working for me and helped me uh, on this tournament. So, hey guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button and support the channel. I appreciate that. Also, hopefully, I'll get some more videos coming up. Just to give you a heads up, I'll be fishing uh, I'll be fishing next week, October. I mean, I'll be fishing the regional for the Bulldog BFL. That's going to be at Lake Murray. And also, I have something real good coming up, which I'm going to try to see if I can make some videos out of it. And a big tournament coming up also at the end of October. And then in November, we have a Latin America Bass Anglers tournament down in Lake Kissimmee. That will be the week of the 14th to the 20th of November. It's a 2-day tournament, so that will be that Friday and Saturday. And we're going to be taking up from Camp Mac, and looking forward for those. Once I hit that last tournament, that will be my last tournament of the year. It'll be nothing but recovery, resting time, and then getting ready for next season next year. So with that said, guys, I appreciate your support. Like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself. Um, enjoy your weekend, and see you in the next one. Have a good one.